Adam, Daniel,
I miss you out.
David, Andre, how are we all?
Yeah, good.
How did we go yesterday with time series?
Yeah, it was pretty good, miss.
Pretty easy, that one, isn't it? The
Yeah.
start, yeah. Time series is pretty easy. It's not too bad. I'm just going to wait for everybody to be jumping on, and we'll do a lesson on. I might share the screen, so you're ready. The iPad, you guys, we're doing this bit time series. So look for that in your notes. I'm just gonna get that like that. Okay. All right. Is there not that many people here? Oh, we're still early. That's all right. What did you have first period, boys?
I had sport and rec. Geography.
What do you do for all the prac part for sport and rec?
We've just been doing theory the whole time. Yeah.
What's the difference between sport and rec and PE?
Oh, it's like sport and rec's just like you learn like facilitating stuff, like coaching and all that.
Yeah.
And PE is like, I don't even know. It's like,
yeah, more body and all that.
Yeah, it's not like biology and stuff.
Yeah. Who takes sport and rec?
Miss Wade.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's all right.
I don't reckon they even had that when I was in year 12.
Yeah, it's pretty broad.
I did PE. No, well, fair enough. So you just do all theory. Do you have to do prac for that?
We're supposed to, yeah. When we have our doubles, we usually do, but hopefully we do like just heaps of it when we get back.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, I think I've got most people on now, and I am recording this, so people who missed will be able to jump on. All right. So has everyone found this part of their notes? I'm just going to move that. Yeah. And sorry, can everyone see my iPad? To be first of all.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at you guys, but yeah. All right. Good. All right. So I'm going to start with this. I might record it on the iPad too, so that I can pop it on your Schoolbox page. All right. So I'm starting. So we're looking at time series. So what we saw yesterday, if we have a look, we were looking at, say we had a time series, and say whatever we had, I don't know, whatever we were looking at, and we might have been looking at birth rate or whatever over time. And we saw these time series, and they did sort of stuff like that. And then we were looking at what, oh, did that just drop? You can't see that, can you? Can you see the iPad still?
No.
No. I don't know what's going on. Wait a minute. I'll just quit this. Open it up again. Anyway, so I'll just keep talking while we're going, trying to find that. So the time series, sorry. Yeah, cool, we're back. Okay, so with the time series, so we looked at things that happen. So we looked at like it could generally have an upward trend. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. Yeah, so it generally have an upward trend, but you had these random zigzags in there. I'll just move that down a bit. You had those random fluctuations in there. So what smooth time series is going to do is it's going to take away these rough or up and downs. So it tries to sort of smooth it out so that it will be smoother. Now, why do we do that? Because if you think about things like, say we're talking about jumper sales over the years, you know, at a particular shop, they're going to know, or a brand, they're going to know that jumper sales will go up in winter, right? So they know that those peaks are going to happen. And what they want to do, they want to see the overall trend. So we might do some smoothing techniques to say, yeah, we know we'll have some fluctuation, but we want to see overall. So these smoothing techniques help to calm down those extremes, because really a company doesn't want to know, like, oh yeah, there was an extreme there, but that's not going to happen all the time. So we do these smoothing techniques. So we just really have to learn how to do them, and then other people would look at what, you know, and all the other data and look at what that tells us. But so at the moment, so we're going to start with the mean smoothing. So as it says there with the mean, anyway, the mean is, oh my God, this has gone crazy. Yeah, so the mean is like the average, yeah? So it's the same way as we work out an average, we add them all up and we divide by how many there are. So with the, I'm not going to record this is a disaster. With the mean smoothing, we have like odd numbers and even numbers. With the odd numbers, it's a bit easier. So we'll have a look at what we do with that. So we've got 3 mean smoothing here. So you've got your list of months and they collected for birth rate. So that would be your time series, you know, your months along the bottom, and they're looking at the birth rates. So when we go to do the first mean smooth value of this data, what we're going to do is we're going to take the first 3 data points. So you can see there, and then we'll divide by 3. So you've seen them, we're adding them up there, and we divide by 3 and we get this first answer. So that becomes the smooth value for February, because when you've got the first 3, you've got to put your answer within the middle, and the middle month of those first 3 months is February. So you see with 3 mean smoothing, you'll lose the first, and you'll also lose the last one. So when you have, say, your graph along here and you've got January to December, your normal time series might have looked like that. Your 3 mean smoothing one will start on February and finish on November. Okay, so that's what that means, because you're smoothing it. So then if I went to get the next smooth value, I would take the next 3. So you can see I've taken February, March, and April, and I've added them up and divided by 3. And there you go. That would be March's 3 mean smoothing value. And that's how you do it. So obviously, if we have 5 mean smoothing, what you're going to do is you're going to take the first 5. So you look at 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see they've added them up and they've divided by 5. And this is the first smooth value. Now, the middle month of the first 5 would be March. So this becomes the first smooth value for 5 mean smoothing. So you lose the first 2 and the last 2. So this one would start on March and end on October, so it'd be even more shorter when you go to plot it. You don't need to plot a lot of mean smoothing. So remember, we're going to have other techniques, and so when we have the mean, they generally just ask you to smooth a one-off particular value, and you'll see that in a minute when we do some exam questions. So this was the odd numbers. So that was pretty easy. It's one step to do for the odd. When you've got the even numbers, like over here, we've got 4 mean. There's always going to be an extra step which is with centering. So that's with the even numbers. So that most, I've really only ever seen 4 and 2 even used for the even numbers, and we've got both of them, those examples in our books. With the odd numbers, I've seen 3, 5 and 7 put in an exam. So there you go. So for the even numbers, let's have a look at what they do. So for 4 mean, they have taken the first 4 values and they've added them up and divided by 4, and then they got an answer. Now, if you have a look, if you're thinking about the months, it'd actually be in the middle of those 2 sets of months. So it's after Feb, before March. So that's why with even numbers, you've got to do centering. So the way you do the centering is you take the next 4 numbers. So you can see they've done that there, and they've divided by 4 and they've got an answer. So the centering part is you take these 2 answers and you divide by 2 because there's 2, and then this becomes the first smooth value in a 4 mean smoothing, and that ends up being on March. So you can see, and you'll lose the first 2 in a 4 mean. So that's how you do 4. So then you would keep on continuing that pattern. So there's a reason why I put these tables in here, is so that you can follow the process. If you can't remember or you get a bit forgetful, just follow, have a look at this, and you can work around using your numbers. But we've got some examples. So I will show you here. Everyone got these? Just get a little hello. Everybody's still there? Hello. Yeah, cool. And you've got
Yep.
cool. Yeah, that's okay. I'm here. All right, good. All right, so you didn't miss anything, you boys. I've just read the chat that you jumped on. Anyway, you can watch this. Yeah, you can watch this anyway.
Yep.
All right, so with this is doing the techniques. So I'm in an exam and I have to be really careful, and I really need to make sure I'm underlining what technique they want me to do. And the magic word here is mean. So that's the one that to make sure, because the other one sounds very similar. We're going to do median. So be aware what you're doing. We're doing mean, and we're centering. And you can see they only ever ask you to do 1 month when you're in the exam. In a SAC, we could get you to do the whole set of data, but not in an exam. So they asked me to do May. So the way I do this for May is and you'll have your, so just say you've got your grey leads and you're using them. So what I do is I go up here and I go, yep, I've got to do May. Now, if I'm doing 4 mean, I know I've got to take, one time I'm going to have to take 2 below May and 1 above it. So that's my first set. So I'll go 2, 4, 0, 2 plus 2, 4, 5, 6 plus 4, 6, 5, 1 plus 3, 4, 5, 6, and divide by 4. And I'll get an answer in a minute. And then I've got to do my next set. So sometimes I don't change the color, but I just change the shape. So the next time I'm going to take, I'm going to take May, and I'm only going to go 1 below it, and I'll go 2 above it. So I generally draw a different shape above it. And this is a way so I can know I've picked the right numbers. And then when I'm checking my work, I can see that I've copied the right numbers into my calculator. So then I'm going to add these up and divide by 4 and get an answer. So I'm going to quickly, the first one here was 3, 2, 4, 1.25. And the second one was 3, 3, 4, 6.5. So to get the answer, because you've got it's an even number, I'm going to have to center. So that means you add these 2 and you divide by 2. And when you do that, you end up with 3293.9. So that's closest to B there. So that's how we did that one. So the 4 means always take a little bit more time, and that's question 15 on your core part of your exam. So you're getting near the end. So they are well aware that it's going to take a little bit more working out, and you get more marks, like it's allocated more marks for it. Oh, well, it's not allocated more marks, but more time is allowed. Like they know that the last questions will take you longer than the first ones. All right, so let's go do this one underneath. It's funny, it was question 15 again in the next exam. So it's the wind speeds for 2 weeks, but obviously we just really want to know what they want me to do, which is they want me to do 4-point moving smoothing, for day 11. So I come up here to day 11. So again, I'm going to take 2 below, 1 above it, plus 19, plus 22, plus 43, divide by 4, and I'll get an answer. And then I'm going to take the next scenario for it will be when I take just 1 below 11 and 2 above 11. So 19 plus 22 plus 43 plus 37, and divide by 4, and I'll get an answer. And those ones were, this ended up being 26.5. Sorry, a bit messy. And this one ended up being 30.25. And then when we're going to add those two together and divide by 2, we're going to end up with our answer, which I got 28.4. So I'm going to say is closest to 28. All right. So is everyone good and following along with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's obviously particularly easier for me, or like because I'm using this and I've got coloured pencils. I know it makes it a lot easier because you can separate them. But as I said, when I'm doing an exam myself, like practicing or whatever, I do the circle on one set and a square on the other. And I need to do that because otherwise I can't check that I'm typing the numbers in. And that's where I think why these questions are always late and are given more points and poorly done. It's just probably a lot of fiddling around and looking up and down on your paper and into the calculator. So we want to make sure that we're seeing, when we check our work, we can see that we've typed those right numbers in each time. All right, so they're 2 4 mean smoothing exam questions. If I go to the next page, you guys have got this, yes? Sorry, have you guys got that page?
Yeah.
It was so long ago,
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah. All right, so so with this one, I've put this one in there. You might get 2 mean smoothing with centering, so I want an example in there for you. So with 2 mean, it's an even number, so that's why we've got the centering. So sorry, get the pencil on. The first set we'd look at is we'd go 10 plus 12 and divide by 2, so that will give 11. That's my answer. And then you do the next 2, which would be 12 plus 6 divided by 2, which would be 9. So the centering part will be that, where you go 11 plus 9 divided by 2, which is 10. So this ends up being February's smoothed value. So you might write that as Feb there, okay? If I do the next one, so I get 6 plus 5 divided by 2, and that equals 5.5. And then therefore the next smooth would be 9 plus 5.5 divided by 2. Sorry, equals, and then we get, I think we get 7 7.25. So that one would be March, just so you know. And I'm just going to show you like a random one because like that's going in order, so it's pretty easy. But they never do that in the exam. They just ask you to do a random one. So I'm going to pick September as my random one. So what will I do when I do that? When I get September, and I've got 2. I know I've got to go one above it. So my first one would be 7 plus 9 divided by 2, which is 8. And then I've got to go a scenario where I go one below it. So it'll be 9 plus 10 divided by 2, which would be, what would that be, guys? 9.5? No? Oh, what am I doing? Is that right? 8.5 even? Yeah? No? 19. No, 9.5? I'm having a brain fade.
9.5 minutes.
Yeah, going crazy. Thank you. I was waiting for you guys. Yeah. And now for these two, I'd add them together and divide by 2. And that will be, what will that be? That would be 8.75 or something. I'm not going well with my mental maths today. Yeah, 8.75. So that would be September's, just to show you how to do it. But you'd have to keep going if you're doing the whole table. All right, so that was 2 mean. And now just to show you here, in the exam question next to it, it says they had daily rainfall, blah, 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 and there's the data in the table, and then they've plotted the time series here. And then they've said here down in this question, they've said 2 mean smoothing with centering has been used and has been marked with the crosses. So you can see here, see how it took away those big peaks, and you can pretty much see it pretty clearly here, how smoothing takes away those big extremes. So there you go, like it took away that one. So anyway, they said that's what they've done. But they've asked you to show how October's is 15.75. So they've even given you the answer, but you've got to show it. So we're doing 2 mean. So if I go up here to October, I'm going to have to do 1 below. So it'll be 124 plus 140 divided by 2, and you get your answer. And then you've got which is, what am I doing? 132. And then you've got to do your next set, which would be where you go 1 above it. So 140 plus 225 divided by 2, which would be 182.5. And then the centering will be where I add these 2 and divide by 2. And the centering, so that ends up being 1. And then if God would hope you get the right answer, which is what they got, and you'll know you've done it right if you're getting the answer they showed you. If for some reason you're doing numbers and you can't see how they get it, at least put your working out there and then just write equals their answer. You never know. You might be lucky. The examiners might not see that you don't really know what's going on there. All right, so that is mean smoothing practice. I'm just going to flick to the textbook. So today you're doing 6B. So if you have a look, they've given you a week of data and say they're often going to get you to, this is multi-choice, boys, remember that, that they're asking you what's the 3 mean smooth for Wednesday. So you go to Wednesday, and if you were doing 3, so when you've got the odd numbers, 3's odd, you don't need to do centering. So 3 would just be you add the Wednesday with 1 below it and 1 above it. So those 3 add up, divide by 3, that would be your smooth. When you have 5 on Friday, so 5 on Friday, you have to use Friday. To get 5, you need 2 below it and 2 above it. You'd add those 5 up, that would get it. 7 because it's odd. You don't have to do any centering. You'd grab Thursday. Now to get 7, you'd need 3 above it and 3 below it. So you'd add all of them up in this case and then divide by 7. All right. And then so on. So you go through all the rest of the table doing that work. Do practice this, doing the tables of all of them, guys, because I'm tipping that's going to come up in your SAC where you've got to do all of it. So you've got plenty of prep time. We're not pushed for time at the moment, so you should be practicing those things in case a SAC requires you to do a whole set of it. Okay, so how are we going? Is everyone confident? Yes? No? Yeah. It's quite fine. Sometimes you get in the chapter and you get a bit lost. That's all right. You just guys give me a call and I will work through the question with you to help you if you need another go explanation of it. Just take your time. Don't try to quickly do it. If you don't want to learn a bad habit. So if you practice a good way, you'll get quicker and you'll do it properly. Yeah. All right. So I'm just so I don't have to do the roll. Can you guys put a little comment here?
No.
Chat thing for me. You don't have to, Lucas, because you've already commented under my hello.
No, we're not doing it.
No, can you put that there or I'll put you away?
No.
All right. So I'll stay on here for a few seconds so everyone can do that. But once you've popped your little hello or here, whatever, you may go and have a great day.
Wait, where's Moran?
Thanks, miss.
No worries, Ben.
See you, miss everyone.
You too.
Love.
Yes.
Bye, Jack.
Miss, I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
So with the even ones, do you always do? How often are you going to get something more than 4?
Nah, so with even, I've only ever seen 4 and 2.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I've
it's
never
always
seen-
1 above and 2 below.
Ye-
For 4.
For 4, always, yeah, you do, sometimes you do one time you do 2 below, 1 above it, and then the other time you've got to do 1 below, 2 above it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for even, there's only 4 and 2. For odd, we could have 3, 5, 7, maybe even a 9 if they were being disastrous, but yeah, nah. The odds are easier, so you've got more, but the evens, I've never seen a 4 or a 2. They seem to be just doing those.
Too easy.
No worries.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.